Hi everybody, thanks for joining us again today for our chapter book story time here at the Caribou Public Library. We're going to be continuing to read The Story of Dr. Dolittle by Hugh Lofting, and we're on chapters 3 and 4 today. So let's see what happens to, to our doctor and the animals he cares for. Chapter 3 is called More Money Troubles. And soon now the doctor began to make money again, and his sister Sarah bought a new dress and was happy. Some of the animals who came to see him were so sick that they had to stay at the doctor's house for a week. And when they were getting better, they used to sit in chairs on the lawn. And often, even after they got well, they did not want to go away. They liked the doctor and his house so much. And he never had the heart to refuse them when they asked if they could stay with him. So in this way, he went on getting more and more pets. Once, when he was sitting in his garden, on his garden wall, smoking a pipe in the evening, an Italian organ grinder came around with a monkey on a string. The doctor saw at once that the monkey's collar was too tight and that he was dirty and unhappy. So he took the monkey away from the Italian, gave the man a shilling, and told him to go. So he bought the monkey. The organ grinder got awfully angry and said that he wanted to keep the monkey. But the doctor told him that if he didn't go away, he would punch him on the nose. John Dolittle was a strong man, though he wasn't very tall. So the Italian went away saying rude things, and the monkey stayed with Dr. Dolittle and had a good home. The other animals in the house called him Chi-Chi, which is a common word in monkey language meaning ginger. And another time, when the circus came to Puddleby, the crocodile who had a bad toothache escaped at night and came into the doctor's garden. The doctor talked to him in crocodile language, took him into the house, and made his tooth better. But when the crocodile saw what a nice house it was, with all the different places for the different kinds of animals, he too wanted to live with the doctor. He asked if he could sleep in the fish pond at the bottom of the garden, if he promised not to eat the fish. When the circus men came to take him back, he got so wild and savage that he frightened them away. But to everyone in the house, he was always as gentle as a kitten. But now the old ladies grew afraid to send their lapdogs to Dr. Dolittle because of the crocodile, and the farmers wouldn't believe that he would not eat the lambs and sick calves that they brought to be cured. So the doctor went to the crocodile and told him he must go back to his circus. But he wept such big tears and begged so hard to be allowed to stay that the doctor hadn't the heart to turn him out. So then the doctor's sister came to him and said, "John, you must send that creature away. Now the farmers and the old ladies are afraid to send their animals to you, just as we were beginning to be well off again. Now we shall be ruined entirely. This is the last straw. I will no longer be housekeeper for you if you don't send away that alligator." "It isn't an alligator," said the doctor. "It's a crocodile." "I don't care what you call it," said his sister. "It's a nasty thing to find under the bed, and I won't have it in the house." "But he has promised me," the doctor answered, "that he will not bite anyone. He doesn't like the circus, and I haven't the money to send him back to Africa, where he comes from. He minds his own business, and on the whole is very well behaved, so don't be so fussy." "I tell you, I will not have him around," said Sarah. "He eats the linoleum, and if you don't send him away this minute, I'll go and get married." "All right," said the doctor, "go and get married. It can't be helped." And he took down his hat and went into the garden. So Sarah Dolittle packed up her things and went off, and the doctor was left all alone with his animal family. Here she is. And there's the crocodile. She decided she would not stay if he was there in the home. Very soon, he was poorer than he had ever been before. With all these mouths to fill and the house to look after, and no one to do the mending, and no money coming in to pay the butcher's bill, things began to look very difficult. But the doctor didn't worry at all. "Money is a nuisance," he used to say. "We'd all be much better off if it had never been invented. What does money matter so long as we are happy?" But soon the animals themselves began to get worried. And one evening, when the doctor was asleep in his chair before the kitchen fire, they began talking over it among themselves in whispers. And the owl, Tutu, who was good at arithmetic, figured it out that there was money enough left to last only another week, if they each had 1 meal a day, and no more. Here they are in the house, while Dr. Dolittle is sitting in his chair. We have all these animals. Then the parrot said, "I think we all ought to do the housework ourselves. At least we can do that much. After all, it is for our sakes that the old man finds himself so lonely and so poor." So it was agreed that the monkey, Chi-Chi, was to do the cooking and mending. The dog was to sweep the floors, the duck was to dust and make the beds, the owl, Tutu, was to keep the accounts, and the pig was to do the gardening. They made Polynesia, the parrot, housekeeper and laundress, because she was the oldest. Of course, at first they all found their new jobs very hard to do, except for Chi-Chi, who had hands and could do things like a man. But they soon got used to it, and they used to think that it was great fun to watch Chip, the dog, sweeping his tail over the floor with a rag tied to it for a broom. After a little, they got to do the work so well that the doctor said that he had never had his house kept so tidy or so clean before. In this way, things went along all right for a while, but without money, they found it very hard. Then the animals made a vegetable and flower stall outside the garden gate and sold radishes and roses to the people that passed by along the road. But they still didn't seem to make enough money to pay all the bills, and still the doctor wouldn't worry. When the parrot came to him and told him that the fishmonger wouldn't give them any more fish, he said, "Never mind. As long as the hens lay eggs and the cows give milk, we can have omelets and junket. Then there are plenty of vegetables left in the garden. The winter is still a long way off. Don't fuss." That was the trouble with Sarah. She would fuss. I wonder how Sarah's getting on. An excellent woman, in some ways. Well, well. But the snow came in earlier than usual that year, and although the old lame horse hauled in plenty of wood from the forest outside the town, so they could have a big fire in the kitchen, most of the vegetables in the garden were gone, and the rest were covered in snow. And many of the animals were really hungry. That's the end of chapter 3. Chapter 4 is called A Message from Africa. That winter was a very cold one, and one night in December, when they were all sitting around the warm fire in the kitchen, and the doctor was reading aloud to them out of the books that he had written himself in animal language, the owl Tutu suddenly said, "Shh, what's that noise outside?" They all listened, and presently they heard the sound of someone running. Then the door flew open, and the monkey, Chi-Chi, ran in, badly out of breath. "Doctor," he cried, "I have just had a message from a cousin of mine in Africa. There is a terrible sickness among the monkeys out there. They are all catching it, and they are dying in hundreds. They have heard of you and beg you to come to Africa to stop the sickness." "Who brought the message?" asked the doctor, taking off his spectacles and laying down his book. "A swallow," said Chi-Chi. "She is outside on the rain spout." "Bring her in by the fire," said the doctor. "She must be perished with the cold. The swallows flew south 6 weeks ago." So the swallow was brought in, all huddled and shivering, and although she was a little afraid at first, she soon got warmed up and sat on the edge of the mantelpiece and began to talk. When she had finished, the doctor said, "I would gladly go to Africa, especially in this bitter weather, but I'm afraid we haven't any money enough to buy the tickets. Get me the money box, Chi-Chi." So the monkey climbed up and got it off of the top shelf in the dresser. There was nothing in it, not a single penny. "Oh, I felt sure there was 2 pence left," said the doctor. "There was," said the owl, "but you spent it on a rattle for that badger's baby when he was teething." "Did I?" said the doctor. "Dear me, dear me." Here's Dr. Dolittle looking in the can. Nothing in it. "What a nuisance money is, to be sure. Well, never mind. Perhaps if I go down to the seaside, I shall be able to borrow a boat that will take us to Africa. I knew a seaman once who brought his baby to me with measles. Maybe he'll lend us his boat. The baby got well." So early the next morning, the doctor went down to the seashore, and when he came back, he told the animals that it was all right. The sailor was going to lend them the boat. Then the crocodile and the monkey and the parrot were very glad and began to sing because they were going back to Africa, their real home. And the doctor said, I shall only be able to take you three, with Jip the dog, Dab Dab the duck, Gub Gub the pig, and the owl, Tutu. The rest of the animals, like the dormice and the water voles and the bats, they will have to go back and live in the fields where they were born until we come home again. But as most of them sleep through the winter, they won't mind that, and besides, it wouldn't be good for them to go to Africa. So then the parrot, who had been on long sea voyages before, began telling the doctor all the things that he would have to take with him on the ship. You must have plenty of pilot bread, she said. Hardtack, they call it. You must have beef in cans and an anchor. I expect the ship will have its own anchor, said the doctor. Well, make sure, said Polynesia, because it's very important. You can't stop if you haven't got an anchor, and you'll need a bell. What's that for? Asked the doctor. To tell the time by, said the parrot. You go and ring it every half hour, and then you know what time it is. And bring a whole lot of rope. It always comes in handy on voyages. Then they began to wonder where they were going to get the money from to buy all the things that they needed. Oh, bother it, money again, cried the doctor. Goodness, I shall be glad to get to Africa where we don't have to have any. I'll go and ask the grocer if he will wait for his money until I get back. No, I'll send the sailor to ask him. So the sailor went to see the grocer. Presently he came back with all the things that they wanted. Then the animals packed up, and after they had turned off the water so the pipes wouldn't freeze, and put up the shutters, they closed the house and gave the key to the old horse who lived in the stable. And when they had seen that there was plenty of hay in the loft to last the horse through the winter, they carried all their luggage down to the seashore and got onto the boat. The cat's meat man was there to see them off, and he brought a large suet pudding as a present for the doctor because, he said he had been told, you couldn't get suet puddings in foreign parts. As soon as they were on the ship, Gub Gub, the pig, asked where the beds were, for it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon and he wanted his nap. So Polynesia took him downstairs into the inside of the ship and showed him the beds, set all on top of one another like the bookshelves against a wall. Why, that isn't a bed, cried Gub Gub. That's a shelf. Beds are always like that on ships, said the parrot. It isn't a shelf. Climb up into it and go to sleep. That's what you call a bunk. I don't think I'll go to bed yet, said Gub Gub. I'm too excited. I want to go upstairs again and see them start. Well, this is your first trip, said Polynesia. You will get used to the life after a while. And she went back up the stairs of the ship, humming this song to herself. I've seen the Black Sea and the Red Sea. I've rounded the Isle of Wight. I discovered the Yellow River and the Orange too by night. Now Greenland drops behind again, and I sail the ocean blue. I'm tired of all these colors, Jane, so I'm coming back to you. Here is a picture of the ship when the voyage begins. They were just going to start on their journey when the doctor said he would have to go back and ask the sailor the way to Africa. Doesn't seem very prepared, does he? But the swallow said she had been to that continent many times and would show them how to get there. Well, there you go. So the doctor told Chi-Chi to pull up the anchor, and the voyage began. That's it for today. We will continue on next time. See you then.